What is going on, Rockets fans? It is Randy here, and we are back for week number 3 of the GBA Season 9. I am your coach of the Houston Team Rockets, and this week we were preparing and battling against the Los Angeles Nidokings, coached by TTM Danza. So if you guys don't know who that is, make sure to go check him out. He's another member of TTM. We battled his buddy Jolt last week, and this week we're facing him. And fun fact, next week we're facing Goldoa, he's another member of TTM. So we'll have three members back to back, and I'm hoping that we can beat all of them. We already took down Jolt last week. Granted, there was a big asterisk over that win, and I'm not really proud of how I played the last game, like the end game sequence, like going Infernape after I sacked Latias. You know, I completely, like, this is a fun fact, like, I completely forgot, or I didn't even look at whenever he switched out Magirna on Suicune and I switched out too, I didn't even pay attention to that. Like, if you watch my recording, I didn't even think anything of it, and even when I, like, battled, I didn't even think about it. Now, I also should have never assumed he would be Akka if I saw Dazzle and Fleur. So I mean that was not a good play for me. And then of course, like last turn with like Yveltal, I definitely should have Oblivion Winged first to make sure I can be out of range of anything. But I figured I was hacking him enough that like Dark Pulse would have flinched him anyway. But yeah, pretty bad end game sequence. Probably didn't deserve to win that game. But anyways, we're on to week number 3, trying to get another win, trying to start all 3-0. Danza's team, I mean, Danza hasn't done so well so far this season, but I mean, what goes around comes around, so I might get what's coming to me this week, but hopefully we can pick up a win, because like I said, I want to make playoffs and prove to these guys here that I belong. So yeah, Danza's team is as follows. We have Palkia, Genesect. Also, quick notes, shout out to Flying Bird for helping me a lot in this team build. He actually made some final changes for me, last second changes for me, before I decided to head into battle, which we'll be battling here in a little bit, hopefully. But yeah, anyway, so shout out to Bird and the rest of my front office. Ollie, Youngster Bill, which, I mean, he's kind of been inactive, but he'll be around once finals are over with. Aaron, Barden, Diabetic Raichu, Dr. Piplup, Granto Boy, of course Ollie, and of course Flying Bird. But yeah, thank you guys for that. Also, Bill Links, music still in the background. I'm still, I haven't played in a few days because I have finals and I have to focus, but I mean, it's been a lot of fun. So yeah, anyways, I'm running Ancient Gears. I still don't know a dang thing about this meta, but you know, I'll figure it out. So anyways, back to Pokemon. Danza's team is as follows: Palkia, Genesect, Tapu Bulu, Halucha, Heatran, Florges, Heliolisk, Silvally, Gengar, Kommo-o, which are actually his 2 Z-Crystal users, and the Mega Alakazam. So his draft was kind of praised early on, immediately after the draft, but then slowly after it was broken down, it definitely got a little bit of heat because it's got a lot of dual typings, a decent amount of quad weak typings, and he's got some weird like synergy issues, I feel like. And I'm not one to grade teams because I've never, like, I always think my teams look so weird when I look at them, but people, you know, we're talking about my hippo and sand and not doing all that, but I mean, it's there, it's here to stay probably, so you just gotta deal with it. All right, so this matchup's a lot more straightforward than Jolt's. Like, Jolt's was just stupid. Don't get me wrong, this is still hard to prep for because there are certain mons like Genesect, Halucha, and then of course, not to forget, is his Uber Palkia, that are really hard to deal with. But I feel like this build is pretty nice, and I'll go ahead and go over it now. I have a quiz later on today, so I'm trying to get this done fast, so hopefully you guys bear with me. Hopefully I don't butcher my statements too badly, but anyways, let's go ahead and jump into it. First up, leading the way, Hakeem, the Yveltal, running Dread Plate, Dark Pulse, Oblivion Wing, Snarl, Sucker Punched, and Snarl is like pretty much the unique move on this set here, and I'll explain to you what it does and why it's really good. So first off, Snarl, for those of you that don't know, is a sound-based move, base 55 power, and it's dark type, obviously, so it will easily, you know, get boosted by the Dread Plate and the Dark Aura. And Snarl is there for his Gengar and the Mega Alakazam. So those two are the mons that are probably going to be expecting Sucker Punch, so they can go for sub, thinking they're safe, but little do they know Snarl will go through and easily destroy both of them because of my boost with Dark Aura and Dread Plate. Because normally when you think of Snarl, you think of it as a low base power move that all it does is drop special attack, but in this case of Yveltal, Snarl is almost like a freaking full power Dark Pulse with my boost. So that's a really cool tech. Now, although I will say that like Mega Alakazam is a lot easier to go for Snarl on because it can't OHKO me with anything. Even after a +1 boost, it can't OHKO me. So Snarl will easily just be the safe play on the Alakazam. But on Gengar, it's a little bit of a different story. Because Gengar can do one of 3 things. 2 are okay. Well, I'll go over the 3 scenarios. I guess it's really 4 scenarios, okay? So one scenario, which is the likely scenario, he'll go for Substitute. And if he does that, Snarl will just kill him through the sub, and that's all that's had to be said about Gengar. Second scenario, it goes for a non-Z attack, such as Thunderbolt, Dazzling Gleam, or I guess even Thunder if he's about that life, in which I can live any hit from those, bar crit, and then I can blow him back with a Snarl. And his other option would be to go for a Z-boosted attack, and that is likely the scenario I don't want him to go for. I don't want to risk that. Hopefully he'll have popped it by then, or if I have to risk it, I'll risk it. And there's also a chance he could be Z Shadow Ball as well to deal with Mega Latias, but I do expect either Z Dazzle or Z Thunderbolt / Thunder. So that is one scenario you could do. And then the final scenario, which is the one that I have to be on the lookout for, is the Destiny Bond. And Destiny Bond can catch me if I expect him to go for sub and I go for Dark Pulse or something, and he takes me out, and I'm sure he'll take that trade any day, trading his Gengar for the Yveltal. So if I ever come in on Gengar, I think me and Bird agreed that the safest play is always a Sucker Punch, because if he goes for Destiny Bond, then it is guaranteed to fail the next turn, I think, or it's like a 50% chance to fail. I'm not sure. I'll look it up afterwards, or I don't know. But anyways, Sucker Punch is always safe, because if he goes for Substitute, he'll probably think he's safe, and I can blow him back with a Snarl. Now, if he's got his Z Crystal still intact, then that would be pretty bad. But ideally, the scenario is he doesn't have a Z Crystal, or maybe he's not running a Z Crystal, maybe he's running a Z Como, and in that case, then it'll be kind of more mind games. But the point is, his Dark Resists don't really exist anyway, and 2 Mons that can potentially try to take advantage are his two Mons that are weak to Sucker Punch, being Zam and Gengar. Get behind subs, but Snarl prevents that. But otherwise, I mean, his Dark Resists don't exist. I do expect like a Spadef, Silvally, either Dark or Fairy. So yeah, I mean, I thought about specs, but this set's just a lot better and a bit easier to play with. So yeah. Next up, we have Mega Latias coming for the 3rd straight week. Let me take a swig of water. I'm eating a lot of sunflower seeds, man. Super salty. I gotta do that. So, bit of a actually normal set, like a normal set that I'm not used to. I'm not running some non-stab mono attacking Latias or like a 3 attacks Roost set. This is a bread and butter, 2 attacks Roost and Calm Mind. Hits his entire squad. Nothing really to explain here. I guess the only justification, or I guess the only other set I could probably bring, would have been a stored power set with Substitute. And that on paper also wins, but Roar Tran is probably his #1 way to deal with that potential set, because he doesn't have a dark type, and he probably will be thinking that he'll probably bait me into bringing mono stored power. And I do think he'll expect me to bring that, because he doesn't have a dark type, and he might try to take advantage of that. But I mean, that set's too slow to set up for me. And if you guys don't know already, I'm pretty bad at using setup mons like that, so I'm thinking this is a bit of a safer set. And after a couple of boosts, definitely will be able to destroy him. The only mon that can come in and revenge me after a couple of boosts would be the Scarf Genesect. But we also are kind of afraid of a Shift Gear set. So that will obviously be dependent on how he plays it and what happens. But ultimately, this mon's really, really good against him. It's super fat. It's my Hawlucha check, and you really can't go wrong with it. I'm finally listening to you, Melon. I'm bringing it. Calm Mind, okay? Don't get on me now, all right? Calm Mind, a few attacks, okay? I'm bringing it every week now because of you, all right? You happy? All right. Next up, we have the Infernape, James Harden. This set here went through a pretty big last-second change. Before, I was going to bring a stupid sub Slack Off set, and the only reason why I wanted to bring sub Slack Off was because of Genesect. Prior to this build, I had Clef over Infernape, but that build got completely destroyed by a Shift Gear Genesect, and this is a bit of a decent answer to that Genesect, because Genesect can't touch me, because all it needs is dual stab for my entire roster. If you look at my entire roster, all it needs is Iron Head and X Scissor, and it hits my entire squad. It's not easy to break stuff like Suicune or I guess the Hippowdon, but those two really can't do much back to it unless we have fire coverage. And of course with download potentially, download for sure will get an attack boost on the well, actually it wouldn't even get an attack boost on either one. It would get special attack boost. But the point is that Genesect is scary, and I want it to be weaker to Hawlucha than Genesect, because Hawlucha needs a lot to go for it. It needs the terrain, it needs the right mon, it needs a lot of stuff going for it to be able to sweep. And my entire build, you'll see here, has a way to hit Hawlucha for good damage, so I'm not too afraid of that. I'd rather be weaker to the Hawlucha than the Genesect. But this gives me a bit of a safer way to deal with it, especially since I'm choosing to run Flame Charge. That way I can take advantage of his switches, because this thing's dual stab hits his entire team, and it does really, really well against them. If I get that speed boost up, potentially a Swords Dance. I think if I get a Swords Dance and a Flame Charge, I'm pretty sure I just outright win unless he ends up being a Scarf Gengar. But obviously I gotta watch out for some lures like maybe a Chople Heatran, or I guess like I said, a Scarf Gengar if I'm not expecting it. But again, Infernape is a really good matchup here. The only thing I'm worried about is that I'll probably take a lot of damage from maybe U-turns on Genesect or some Flare Blitz recoil. That's the only thing that worries me a little bit. But other than that, Infernape is a really good set here, and hopefully it can work out. Z Close Combat just smashes through Palkia. If I'm able to, like a +2 close combat, like Z Close Combat, Oko is like a max, like I think it's like a max defense Palkia it Okos. I think I could be wrong about that. But anyways, like this is a good set here, especially considering my next Pokemon Roserade is running Spike, and his I guess his best way to deal with it would be a mixed defensive Savali, and not Savali. Well, actually, a water one could do that too. Like it could be, but Florges was the mon I meant to say. And with that, getting up maybe 1 or 2 Spike, that would help immensely, especially since getting up Spike for the Florges, the Genesect, the Palkia, it would definitely help you Yveltal as well, because it allows those things to not always come in cleanly and take hits from it. And I've actually grown to really like Roserade this season so far. It hasn't really done anything offensively, but it's done stuff supportive-wise with those spikes. So definitely a huge support for that. I'm not running Grass Stab. I don't need it. It doesn't hit anything super effectively, which is pretty funny actually. Even though he's got Terrain, which would be nice, but again, it doesn't hit anything super effectively. Sludge Bomb is always nice for the poisons, as well as hitting the Bulu, and Florges for good, big, huge damage. Oko's the Bulu. And of course, HP Ground Technician is for the Heatran, in case you couldn't have guessed that on your own. And then Dazzle is for the Kommo-o, so it couldn't get up a free Dragon Dance, which I was talking about before. That Dragon Dance Kommo-o actually has a pretty good matchup against my current build. Although, like I said about the Hawlucha, all of my Pokemon here on this build hits it for either super effective or really, really big damage to where I can come in and be alright. So, as long as I have that, I should be safe. And really nothing else to explain here, just enough speed to outrun. I believe that is a max speed Kommo-o. Yeah, that's what it outspeeds. So next up, our last two Armons that are making their debut this week. We have Eric Gordon, the Metagross, running an Assault Vest set, so I can switch into Florges, Heliolisk. I guess Special Kommo-o a little bit easier. I guess Palkia somewhat, but I won't say it switches in very well. But Meteor Mash, HP Fire, Stomping Tantrum, and the Zen Headbutt. HP Fire is to prevent Genesect from getting up free Shift Gears, or just like free whatever other move we would get. Maybe I could potentially lure it in with that. Tantrum, for those of you that don't know, is unaffected by the Grassy Terrain's protection. Grassy Terrain weakens Earthquake. I believe it weakens something else too. I don't remember what else it weakens, but it weakens that. So Stomping Tantrum will pretty much Oko most variants of the Heatran. But my attack investment is for Meteor Mash to Oko the Florges. So that's all I really needed there, because after a boost, this thing can definitely do some damage to his roster, and especially without Assault Vest, I can take a hit from the Gengar or the Heatran and start dishing out more damage than he would have expected. And then of course Zen Headbutt, I made the case for Psychic to hit Hawlucha, like with a +1 defense boost and hit the Kommo-o, but Zen Headbutt does more still than Psychic does, so it was just better to run that. And then if I were to get that attack boost from Meteor Mash, then it just does a lot more to Palkia as well, so that's why I chose to run that. Hopefully he does well. And then finally we have CP3, the Porygon 2, making its debut, running 3 attacks recover. Pretty weird set, I know, but Toxic for one isn't really useful at all in this matchup. I mean, I guess it is somewhat, but I mean, Frustration was a bit of a cool tech because it's mainly there to catch Florges, or maybe even like a Calm Mind Bulu or an Assault Vest Bulu, or Calm Mind Zam, I suppose, because Frustration at +1, because I'll guarantee get an attack boost on Florges. That's a 100% guarantee. And with that, like let's say he comes in on like a Discharge or an Ice Beam, and he's already taking a prior Flare Blitz or something, or what else move could he take from me, like a Psyshock or something. If he comes in on a Spike or something and he's hovering around half HP and he thinks he can get off a free Wish on me, Frustration will just completely destroy him, and I can get a free KO on that Florges. And if I KO that Florges, then Yveltal will just shred him for life. So that is the goal with P2. And then not to mention +1 Discharge or Ice Beam, Bolt Beam is really nice against them. And getting paralyzed on something like Genesect or the Gengar would be very, very huge in this game, or I guess Alakazam as well. So that is hopefully the goal. P2 is here to hacks as well as dish out surprise damage with Frustration. And then of course Max Bedef is there because it's my only real switch into Palkia, and of course Frustration does pretty good damage back to it as well. So that is the team build for Danza. Pretty straightforward stuff, nothing too crazy about these builds. Snarl's cool tech, I'm running a standard Latias for once. Infernape's Flame Charge will be useful. Again, Spike has always been useful, and I'm so glad I have a decent Spiker. And Rose Raid AV meta is gonna be pretty huge, and so is P2. So hopefully the two members that are making their debuts will have the big games. And yeah, I will catch you guys tomorrow for the game. The time slot for that game is not known yet, but the time slot should be in the description below. So make sure you guys have your notifications ready for that. Make sure you like the video as well, guys. Subscribe, guys. We hit 800 subscribers. Thank you for that. I'm not one that celebrates like milestones, because I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, like I'm still pretty damn small. But I thank you all for the support and giving me a chance. So if you guys really want to show your support, make sure you smash that like button below. Click like if you like the video, man, and then subscribe and turn on notifications. All right. So yeah, guys, thank you for watching. I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Go Rockets.